Hi, little friends. Today I'm going to read your favorite story, Elves and the Shoemaker. So let's start reading the story. Elves and the Shoemaker. Once upon a time, there was a shoemaker. Although he was very good at his work and also very honest, somehow he never made enough. Finally, the day came when he cut out his last piece of leather for a pair of shoes with a heavy heart and closed his little shop, thinking he would make the shoes in the morning. With his head hanging low, he retired to the little room behind the shop. I don't know how we will survive after this, he said to his wife. Tomorrow I'll make my last pair of shoes, and if I don't sell it, we won't have a single penny left. His wife had tremendous faith in fate. Something will turn up, she said, ladling out the meager stew she had managed to cook from the vegetables she grew herself. Here, have this. After their dinner, they went to bed. In the morning, the shoemaker went to open the doors and windows of the shop. Suddenly, his eyes fell on his work table. What he saw made him rub his eyes in disbelief. On the table stood a pair of shoes made from the leather he had cut the night before. He picked up the shoes and admired them. I have never seen a more perfect pair in my life, he thought to himself. Not long after, a gentleman came in and bought the shoes at much higher price than the shoemaker usually sold his shoes. Overjoyed, the shoemaker bought some more leather and cut it up to make two pairs of shoes. Placing the leather on the table, he shut the door and went off for the night. The next day, true to form, he found two wonderful pairs of shoes on the table. And very soon two customers came and bought them. The shoemaker went out and bought more and more leather each day, and then he would cut them up and keep them out on the table. No matter how many pairs he cut each evening, every morning they would all be made into perfect pairs of shoes. Word spread that not just his shoes were good to look at, they were as tough as they come. Well worth the price, everybody said, worth more than the money. Day by day, the shoemaker's fame spread and his little shop became a thriving business. Never had they been this happy in their lives. Do you know, said the old woman one night, as they sat for a sumptuous dinner of soup, rolls, whole roasted chicken, mashed potatoes with peas, and an eclair for dessert. We owe all this to whoever has made this possible. Yes, agreed the old shoemaker. I have been wondering if we should hide ourselves tonight behind the door and see who the kind soul is who helps us so much. Yes, Christmas is close and this would be a good time to repay their kindness, said his wife. That night, they kept the connecting door open just a peep and waited for their unknown benefactors to appear. But when they appeared, they were not at all what the couple was expecting. Maybe a fairy or an angel, but it was neither. It was a couple of elves no higher than a handspan and as naked as babies. Together they sang and stitched and snipped. Snip, 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 they went. Stitch, 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 they went, never stopping for a moment till the morning. And the moment the first rays of sun fell across the table, they hopped out of the window and disappeared. Oh my God, elves, breathed the woman. Who would have thought, breathed the old man. But look at the elves, not a stitch on them, he said again. Yes, and how cold will they be when it becomes colder and it starts snowing, said the old woman. I say, she suddenly said with a bright smile, let me make them both some nice clothes. What a darling you are, said the old man and hugged her, pleased at his companion's kindness. That day, the old man went shopping, but he didn't buy any leather like every day. He bought the best velvet, the best woolen cloth that he would find. He also bought two magnificent hats with long feathers in them. That evening, his wife sat stitching busily till she had made two perfect little sets of shirt, trousers, coat, and velvet jacket, one in bright red and another in blue. They wrapped up these gifts in colorful papers and put them on the work table. That night, they hid behind the door again, smiling with anticipation. Very soon, the two elves jumped in through the window. How very delighted they were when they found their presents. They immediately opened them and wore the clothes and put on the hats. They even did a ridiculous dance in their new clothes. The shoemaker and his wife had to stuff their handkerchiefs in their mouths to stop themselves from bursting out into laughter. Dancing hand in hand, the two elves blew kisses at the door, almost as if they knew who was hiding there, and jumped out of the window. The old couple never saw them again, but then they didn't need to. The shoemaker had become famous, and even though he was quite a good cobbler, even before the elves came in his life, now he became the best in the land. And the two kind souls lived happily for many, many years.